right. I want to welcome everybody to Agents of Recovery. Scott Jones, Vernon Jones, your guys talking about everything from addiction recovery to criminal recovery, property recovery. Basically, if it's got something to do with recovery, except for underwater salvage, we don't do that. Wait. You probably have, haven't you?
Yeah, you'd be surprised.
All right, so if you want to hide from him, go underwater. Because no, but really,
I've had to recover some folks on boats. I put them on snorkel and fin, and then when they see me at the back of the car, I had one guy who had warrants. He jumps in a lake right near Country Walk. That's down South Dade.
All right.
And he jumps in the lake, and then I just go to the back of the car. I pop the trunk, and I pull out my snorkel mask, my fins. I already have my Kevlar guns.
No.
And he's looking at me. He's treading water, and he's like, "Are you serious?" I'm like, "You're $15,000, buddy. I will wade and my way to you. Sooner or later, you're gonna get tired." And you know what he did? He turned around and he came back to me. He said, "Man, I can't. They can tread water.
That's $15,000 of your money.
Yeah.
It's on the line.
And honestly, it's a.
You will walk on water if you have to. It will happen.
Let me tell you what. But and what's funny is that sometimes they're like, "Man, I don't mean to be disrespectful, but I didn't think all of you guys knew how to swim." I said, "Bro, I'm from Miami. One, most of my friends were Cuban American or from the Caribbean, so I had to learn to swim if I was going to have fun with them. And two, for that kind of money, what would you do?"
Learn to swim real fast. All right. Yeah. So, we've run the gamut of all kinds of addictions and everything else. But I wanted to take a moment, first of all, it's great, this show. We're getting a good response. We want to keep it going. So please share this with your friends. Like it on Facebook and share it on YouTube. Do all of that. But holidays are coming, brother. I mean, we're only just like a couple weeks from Christmas right now.
Correct. And we're running into a whole different level of problem.
Stress is at an all-time high. I mean, everyday people, regular people throughout their lives, it's a stressful time of year. But when you're running into people with addictions and people with issues and people who maybe have a proclivity towards criminal behavior, things get a little crazy right now, don't they?
Right. So right now, at our all-time high, we're seeing retail theft is boosted ridiculously, and the folks who are doing things in these type of they're commonly called boosters. So we see them going in everywhere from the outlet malls walking in and grabbing Coach bags, and then just going straight to the illegally rented car or borrowed car from someone, and then they're hightailing it, and then they're selling the things on the street. We've also seen folks with false identity, false credit at an all-time high. They're utilizing Venmo, Zelle, Chime, Cash App, Google Pay. I mean, some of them are actually are tougher with folks. Apple Pay and Google Pay and some of the other ones and Zelle, they're more peculiar, but you see like Chime, Venmo, and Cash App, they're running new scams with that, and they're getting the money out of the ATM machines. Yes, it is ridiculous. And right now, it's organized crime, and it should hit the RICO Act once, and it should be federal crimes.
Wow.
Once the feds catch up. But as of right now, they haven't caught up. And they've even looked at, okay, as long as I don't pull out more than $10,000, I don't pop up on the radar. Yes.
Now, given your background, I mean, do you have some suggestions for people out there not to be victimized by some of these things? I mean, a big thing I know in South Florida is the skimmers on the gas tank, on the gas pumps.
Yes.
And they told people, well, look for this. But now, they're covering their tracks on that, too. So, I mean, how do you protect yourself these days, man?
I mean, to be honest, the biggest thing is just trying to stay more aware. You don't want to put yourself in a total bubble, but sometimes paying attention to some of those things that you're seeing on social media, some of the warnings that you're getting with some of the credible media outlets.
Right.
Because, sometimes you're going to get these, if you see a girl walking with a balloon, don't give her a ride, and you get these crazy text messages.
Yeah.
No. We understand that. It looks like the movie It, okay? But we're not going there.
If somebody flashes their lights, it's a gang trying to go out.
Yeah. You don't want to get. You don't want to get so
urban legend.
Yeah, urban legend. You don't want to get so paranoid that you can't live your life in a comfortable manner. But the skimmers was a big one. It's died down some.
Okay.
But I have to admit, I bonded. I think I bonded someone out out of Orlando, Osceola, or Orange County who got caught up in that.
You must learn some amazing things from these guys.
Let me tell you what.
Some people probably shut right up, but there's other ones that probably start blabbing. You got to be like, holy cow.
Yes. And the ones that some folks we bond out, and you look at the crime, and there's certain crimes that certain bondsmen will not touch. Because I know a lot of bondsmen who will not touch anything that has to do with pedophilia, anything to do with crimes against the elderly. Totally understandable, totally respectable.
Absolutely. I mean, if it tugs at you that personally, or if you're that reactive to it,
correct,
it's probably not good for you to have that person around you.
Correct. And it's the same thing. I've seen that certain bondsmen that will not touch anything DUI related because they lost a loved one to a DUI crash. Because we're all human. We're human.
Well, listen, I appreciate that they have enough self-knowledge to know this is not my area. I'll pass it on to someone else.
Correct. Because then if something goes wrong and the person misses court, then they take it more personal, and then now we have a different level of a problem, especially on the pickup. But we've seen some high increase of things right now, especially living in an area like South Florida or Florida, the whole state of Florida. We see people with nice things all the time, whether it's the watches, the cars, the homes, and you want more. You've seen it now. It drove up next to you at the light. Whereas you may go to places in the Midwest. They see a $50,000 Mercedes or a BMW, and they're like, "Wow!" And we're like, "Man, please, they're a dime a dozen." Austin Martins, okay, whatever.
Yeah, Lamborghini.
Yeah. The dude down the street has one.
Yeah.
If not, I can go rent one here. Whereas in other parts of the country, they don't see those things. And same thing with electronics, watches, clothing, shoes, cologne.
Don't point at my watch.
Electronics.
You get the same brand on that I have.
So what happens is folks reach out and they try to overextend themselves, and that's what we're seeing with the credit.
Yeah.
So we've been seeing the false credit identities, and then the scams there, opening up the false bank accounts, and then pulling out the cash. They know which banks to pull from. They know, you go to the ATM at 11, pull no more than 4,000, then wait 2 hours when they're doing updates or maintenance, and then on that same bank, pull the other $4,999 so that you're under the $9,000 limit. And then, or you pull 4,999, as much as you can, 5,000 on one and 4,980 on the next transaction, so you're under the $10,000 limit, because that way you don't pop up on the IRS radar. And it's crazy. And I some of the stuff I learned, like you said, either when I bond them out, some of them, they don't need to give me all that when I bond them out, or you look at the A forms, the arrest affidavit, or even more so when they have confession, once you've rearrested them and they're in handcuffs in the backseat of the vehicle. That's when they go to confession. and that's where they just kind of get it all off their chest.
Father Vernon is in the house.
I'm driving like, wow.
Right.
But it also kind of gives you a warning, and it's scary. Yeah. And when it comes down to addiction, you have to think, a lot of folks, we'll talk on it a little bit later, but the human trafficking side, whether they're involved and they got involved in, if you will, the adult industry legally on the legal side. Right. Maybe not the side that most of us morally want our family members to be in, but legally it's legal, whether it's the clubs or whatever it might be. Then from there, they transition into the illegal side. Mm-hmm. And then from that illegal activity comes other illegal activities, and it snowballs. Yeah. And then there are folks who are forced into it, and there's signs of that, even from the hotels, with noticing if you see one person, male or female, it's not always. A lot of the human trafficking that we're dealing with now, it's not always a male with a curly perm walking with a cane driving a Cadillac, okay? Yeah.
You pulled up every 70s movie out there, right?
But a lot of times it's the woman, it's a female who is the manager, and she might be with another female who is the victim. She might be with a male, a young male, or two females, or a male and a female.
Well, let's talk more specifically about it. As long as we're on the topic, let's go there. Let's talk about human trafficking. I don't think people quite understand when you talk about human trafficking. Maybe they saw an episode of Law and Order and they heard about it, or Criminal Minds or something, or some TV show, and then they're thinking, that's really, it's TV. It's not happening. First of all, what exactly defines and what is human trafficking in a basic definition?
Basically, when someone is put into a level of servitude, not voluntarily, or they've been coerced or tricked into doing it. So it's not always just sex.
I was just going to say that. Now, this is, although most of the time, but it's not always about sex.
Nope, it's not always just sex. A lot of times it could be those lawn folks that are out there doing your lawn. It could be the folks who are working.
Now, hold on.
Mm-hmm.
Let's, because I know I lived up north. Everybody did their own lawns. Down here, everybody pays somebody to do your lawns. It's
Correct.
It's Florida.
It's Florida.
So you always see these teams of guys out there doing lawns.
Correct.
But you're talking about some of these guys are coerced or
Yes.
maybe manipulated
Yes.
into doing this job.
Yes.
Probably not being paid properly or taken
Correct.
care of.
Correct. I've gone and done warrants on folks, and you'll see 4, 5, 6, 10 people in 1, 2-bedroom apartments. Mattresses here, mattresses there. They speak no English. They're scared. They're worried about us being ICE or Customs and Border Patrol or whatever it might be. Some of them want help. It's just unbelievable.
Well, that's a slippery slope because if you call, if you're concerned that it might be going on, and you're trying to help this person, you may get them deported. I mean, there's so many things going on here.
When they're victims, it's a little different.
It is different.
When it can be proven that they're victims.
Okay.
But if they're here illegally, then that is a potential that they can be deported. But we've gone into situations where we've seen men and women who, whether they're working and doing services like laundry services, working in hotels,
okay,
maid services. Things where it's a job that's typically a manual labor type of job, and there's not a substantial amount of necessary verbal communication needed. So when you got someone around you who they do a job, all they do is
they're taught that
they don't have to talk, they don't have to they just need to go in and do A, B, and C and then leave. Those are the folks that are sometimes put in these awkward positions, whether they're working in nurseries, working out doing yards, like I said, cleaning the homes, working in certain businesses.
Wow.
Now
you've seen all this.
Yeah. I see it. We've dealt with it. One of the organizations we work with, the Anti-Predator Project, they just put up a case that we were working on, some things we've worked with them. We see it in some of the adult entertainment facilities.
Well, yeah. I think that's what most people think about when they think about human trafficking is for sex industry or for prostitution or any kind of thing like that. Correct. Or escort.
But there's more.
But this is opening us up to a whole new area.
And they recruit at different events. You might be at a fundraising event, and the folks who are the bartenders, the good-looking young man or the good-looking young woman, they're there serving drinks, but their job is to scope, to see, or to be alluring.
Yes.
So that maybe someone would want to talk to them, get to know them, get their number, and then that's where it starts.
See, now you just said good looking and young, so that counts me out. You're all safe around me. But yeah, that's amazing.
You're sitting in the bars. Now, wait a minute now. Hold on. Good looking and young. Hold on. I've gone into these little small bars, and you see the women wearing their, in Spanish you say faja. It's basically a girdle, right?
All right.
And the guys wear them too. When I wear Kevlar, I feel like I'm wearing a girdle.
Okay.
All right. But they're wearing that. They have the heels, and they go into these bars, and these sometimes day laborers go in with their money. They're living multiple ones inside a unit, and they have cash. So they go in and they pay for a beer or a drink, and they're enticed by a girl or a guy, depending upon whatever their preference might be. Yeah. And their job is to get the person to drink and get the person to dance. And then for each drink, the person who is attending to them, if you will, gets a percentage cut. And then for every dance, they get a percentage cut. And if it's the type of facility that allows it to go more, they encourage it to go more, well, whether it's the VIP room, the extra bathroom over here, the storage room here, out to the car here, yes, sir, whatever it might be. And if they go into those sides of things, then there's additional money that they're expected to bring. And if they're doing it, whether it's forced or if it's kind of a voluntary because they're trying to pay a bill or dealing with an addiction, and there are things going on, you'd really be surprised. I've seen it in small towns. I've seen it in the truck drivers where they call the girls the lot lizards. We see it from them going from state to state, town to town, and bouncing between trucks. When we have fugitives we're looking for, when we find out they're that role of a lot lizard, oh my God, talking about tough to find.
Right.
Because they can go into one truck and go to the
And
next.
there's no trail there. I mean, it's
Correct.
just, because it's all haphazard. You don't know where they're going to end up.
No one's using. They're not utilizing a cell phone because they can't keep the phone on. A lot of maybe they can, but they lose it all the time. And typically they're calling you via WhatsApp or they're calling you via Facebook Messenger.
Yeah.
So when you're a
You
parent,
can't track that.
yeah, when you're a parent and you see that your child is constantly contacting you via those type of apps with Wi-Fi, you know they have an addiction problem. You know that their boyfriend or girlfriend that they last had was bad news. They've disappeared. They've gone. Parents have to take more of an active role in trying to speak to them. Grandparents, whoever, whatever the matriarch or the patriarch in the family, and you'd really be surprised. I sometimes we recover folks on behalf of the family members who want them back or who are worried about them, and when we bring them back, it's all with open arms, and there's hopes that they'll get into a treatment program or they'll leave that world behind. And some folks, they'll come on their own. They just need a little help, because they don't know what to do. They don't have the birth certificates. They don't have the driver's licenses.
Right.
Social security cards were taken by the boyfriend, girlfriend, pimp, the trafficker. You understand? It's the same thing, whether it's work, sex related, or whatever it might be.
There's so many predators out there.
And that's what it is. They're predators.
Waiting for somebody to have a moment of weakness or a moment of they're in need of help.
Yes.
And they will swoop in, and sometimes under the guise of being helpful, will take advantage of them. We've seen it in the treatment industry.
Correct.
We've seen people be arrested, and this happens all over the country. I'm talking specifically about Florida right now, but it is all over the country. We've seen where people are put in halfway houses and then prostituted.
Yes.
Or used to distribute drugs.
Correct.
Or they
were
were hooking them on drugs and placing them in treatment centers, getting paid for that person. As soon as they get out, they hook them on, they get them back on the drugs, put them in another place, and they keep using them until they're dead.
Yes.
It's horrific.
Yeah.
So this trafficking thing, it goes so far beyond. Again, we're talking about Florida, but it's all over the country. Think about throughout the Midwest, the farmers,
Yes.
the migrant workers in the fields.
Correct.
Some of these guys might be under this, right?
Correct. And we're seeing the same thing with meth. Like I'm from Florida, South Florida, born here, raised here, but I got the opportunity to travel thanks to the different things I did in life.
Sure.
But I didn't know much about Indiana. Christina comes around and we're starting to do warrants and pickups in these other states. We're going to Dakota, North Dakota. I'm seeing signs. We see roadkill. I see things I've never seen before. But she's explaining to me about the chemicals used for farmers and how that's being used for meth labs.
Yeah.
And then I've gone to places like Virginia, West Virginia with the mountaineers, and I've got to deal with going up these slopes to try to find someone. And hey, I'm a Miami boy, okay? I'm a South Florida boy. Dave Broward,
Got you out in the woods.
The woods, mountains.
Gucci shoes. And
Yeah, I'm wearing Jordans, and I'm like, man, I'm wearing the wrong boots, wrong shoes, and Timberlands, and I'm like, but you see the process, and you see what they're doing with the farm fuels and the tractors, and she's explaining to me things. She's schooling me.
Yeah.
But now here we get a place like South Florida where cocaine and crack were big for the longest. Now the biggest thing right now is Molly, and it's not the Molly that we saw in the 80s and the 90s with MDMA. And that's where law enforcement is making the mistake. The Molly now is a synthetic blend that you see a lot of the chemicals come from China. They've Googled, YouTubed, and everything else and figured out how to reconstruct it or reconfigure it so it does not fit the chemical components that are used in the test now for MDMA. So this stuff is keeping, and family and loved ones need to understand, if you've got someone that's staying up 2-3 days straight, they have superhuman speed and strength at times.
Yeah.
You see the weight loss.
Yeah.
That's probably Molly. And what's happened with that is that they go into court now high. The judges can see it. Officers can see it.
However, DEA, Customs and Border Patrol, FBI, they have not fully had it properly listed as the drug that it is now. Right.
So here we are, people going in high. DCF cases, they've done some crazy things to their family members and loved ones. We're upset. We're dealing with it. bonding people out. Officers are making arrests. The courts are looking. They know they're high. They're looking at them. Judges are saying, I want a hair follicle test. They're high right now. And the person's just smiling like,
yeah, your test doesn't catch this.
Yeah.
The
tests aren't catching it. So they're walking out and they're continuing cases, and even worse, scarier, they're getting the kids back, or they're let back into this.
Yeah.
And some of them are going to work.
And the addiction is never addressed because there's no basis for them to force anything.
Yeah, we're working on some things trying to help because we're seeing it from a street level that's unbelievable. But Molly is the new crack cocaine. It is the new crack, and it's not old Molly. So even with arrests, when we're in the field, because I've done some warrants, I've had some law enforcement agencies that come out to put a visual on us to make sure our back is safe when we go out. So I've had some law enforcement, they come in the door with me. I had them hand on my shoulder when I breached the door. I had one guy, I breached the door to go get a fugitive from the state of Texas, and that sheriff's deputy, I go to throw my battering ram, he takes it from my hand, he puts it down. He's got my hand on my shoulder. I'm like, okay, good tactics. We go, and the other two deputies at the back door, they're begging like, let us in, let us get some. Yeah. And I go to open the door, two go that way, we get them. But then they're like, we catch them, they call bingo, they had him in hand. I'm like, oh man, we missed him. But at that point, they show it, he goes into custody, and the deputies are like, man, what is this stuff we're dealing with here? Because now the format looks like crystal. They're cutting it up. They're smoking it with weed. Some of these other drugs they're using, they're vaping. And now we're seeing some of these drugs vape by 12, 13, 14-year-old kids.
Yeah.
That's a whole new problem, a whole new addiction.
It's funny because there's so many things. Your job, and I know I talked to Christina about it and stuff, and the internet is such a great resource for you to help find people and do things, and I know she's brilliant at it, right?
Yeah, she's very good at it. She's one of the better skip tracers in the country.
Yeah. You probably sit there and just go, holy cow, how'd you do it? It's amazing. But for every good thing that we get from that, it's easier to... There is so much more crime that can be done because of the internet. Correct. We're getting all new crimes. We're getting, again, you just talked about, we got these mollies and people Googling and finding this and finding that. Drug deals are happening online. People are transferring money with a click of the phone, and it's like nobody's carrying around a wad of cash anymore and doing this. No. Guess what? I just Venmo'd my dope dealer the money he needed, and it's immediate. It's crazy. How do we keep up, my friend? I mean, your job is to try to keep these people from disappearing, but it's so easy now.
Yeah, it's tougher and tougher. When I bond someone out now, if we see one of the charges of identity theft, red flag. Okay, it's like, hold on.
Because they're superiorly skilled at certain things, right?
And then you look at how many counts and whatever it might be.
Right.
If we see someone with a charge that says heroin, okay, red flag. Because heroin's a drug where the user, if you will, really doesn't care. It's very hard for us on someone who's a heroin addict to get them to go to court. I'm going to be honest. It's one of those drugs. And Molly is starting to be that way also because of how strong of a drug it is. So there's certain charges that are red flag charges, certain charges involving pedophilia. It's one thing if they're saying that the young man or the young lady is 19 and the victim is 17. But it's another thing when we have someone that's a 40, 50, 60-year-old man who's on the board of Boys and Girls Club, and he's been caught with 32,000 images or videos.
Yeah.
And the victims are as young as 4 years old. Yeah. Those are the tough cases.
Sure.
And so when we have those kind of cases, we also you're leery of them because they know that they're going to go through some problems. Like one guy we caught, young man, and what was the state? I had to go to 5 different states for this young man. And and when you were on, he told me he ran. His uncle had the same problem, and while his uncle was in prison, they beat him pretty bad or hurt him.
Right.
He lost his teeth, and some other things happened to him because there's a code in jail, the code in prison, and he didn't want to go through that, so that's why he ran.
Yeah.
Everyone has a different opinion on that. Some folks are like, man, good. Whatever they do to them, because even the hardest of criminals have children, and they have typically mothers and grandmothers. So crimes against the elderly, there's a code with certain crimes against the elderly, and there's a code with crimes against children when you're in jail, prison. And it normally doesn't go well for those who commit
not.
those crimes.
It does not.
No.
I mean, I don't know if there's honor among thieves,
Yes,
but they
there
do
is.
have a code. They do have a code. I don't know if you can call it honorable, but there is a code. And
I call it a code.
It is, yeah. And it's not a code you ever want to wonder which side of it you're on. It's better. Why don't you just stay out of prison? And why don't we do that?
Yeah, why just
stay out of jail. You don't have to worry about it. Jesus. Don't break the freaking law. You won't have to worry about it.
We got a joke says, do you think we're ever, in some ways I tell folks that I'm trying to work myself out of a job, but I want it to be when I want it to go. We're fighting bail reform. The state of New York, have you seen the new laws that come into effect, the changes in New York? Have
I know
you read
that bail is being eliminated. Is that correct?
Yeah, but here's what they're doing in New York. They're making it so that a lot of the crimes, felony crimes, are now just basically citations. The list is ridiculous.
It's the same shit they pulled in California, right?
And New Jersey. Well, California's going through some things, New Jersey, but California, they're putting they've got some referendums in, they're trying to slow some things down.
Okay.
But right. New York, January 1, what was the movie? He had Kurt Russell that Escape from New York?
Yeah. Great classic film, man. Let me tell you.
Let me tell you what, I'm waiting. I'm not looking forward to it. I worry about the people from the state of New York based on the changes that are going to happen. First responders, the hospitals, the police officers, the firefighters. There's crimes that are no longer automatic arrests, like battery on a law enforcement officer is not an automatic arrest anymore in New York. It's a citation from what I read. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah. So I mean, there's some other ones that are some doozies.
I'll tell you, you know what we're going to do is we're going to specifically talk on our next show. We're going to talk about bail reform. Mm-hmm. What is going on in the bail industry? And we will be fair and look at both sides.
Yes, I don't mind.
We'll certainly do that.
I didn't grow up in bail. I didn't know anything about it till I really came in the industry.
Yeah. And certainly the bail industry is not a perfect industry, and it's not filled with perfect people. We know this, but no industry is.
No.
But we have to look at, which one has more value.
And bail's been around a long time.
Bail's been around a long time. Like you talked about
years.
this. I mean, this has been around a very long
years
time.
Before Jesus Christ was born.
Sureties and bail and everything else.
And that's the thing. If you Google the word surety in the Bible, you'll find it numerous times. Yeah. And the Bible is still the best-selling book of all time.
Yeah.
So, and it's not just the Christian religion. It's in numerous religions that the idea or concept of a surety has been around.
Right.
Prior to police, prior to deputy, prior to sheriff, which is the proper way of saying sheriff or the old way.
Right.
And if you do a little research, you'd realize that the surety was who the judge or the magistrate turned to do the initial arrest, to transport them back, to hold and detain them while a decision was being made, while victims and evidence was collected. Sometimes that meant the surety putting them on their farm and them being in indentured servitude while they were waiting to stand trial. Sometimes a bail or a monetary amount, whether it was chicken, crops, or other things, were given to allow the individual to go back home while the case was being deliberated. And then from there, the judge, the magistrate would say, okay, bring the person back. And the surety would go get them. And if the person didn't want to come back, then the judge will say, bring them back dead or alive.
There we go.
And that's the old way that you saw in the Westerns in this country, but also other things that you saw in numerous things over the course of history. And not just in our society, but in other society.
And we're going to go, like I said, in the next show of Agents of Recovery, we want to go deep into what is going on with the bail industry, the bail reform, and certainly we'll give our opinions and ideas. But again, there is no absolute right or absolute wrong, but there's always improvements that can be made. One of those things, a little precursor, is our sponsor is Addiction Training Center for our show. An addiction training center, which you're involved in, I'm involved in, and Karen and the whole gang. We train people to become interventionists, to help recognize the problem of addiction, to help deal with the individual, to communicate with them. And as you were discussing before about the heroin addict, it's difficult to bail because you know that heroin has such a strong hold on them. Chances of them showing up in court are slim.
Yeah, same thing for firefighters. You've been training a numerous number of firefighters. The addiction trainers have done a lot with firefighters, and they're in the first line because when they have someone doing God knows what or going through God knows whatever, you see all these signs, and I go in the first aid, because we've had people we've had to take into custody, and we have to take them to the hospital first, and they don't know what the drug is. or how to deal with it or how to recognize it.
Right, exactly. And if you learn that,
and you learn that as part of the training,
as we're especially with the bail industry right now, and of course we got the fire departments and some other places where we're starting to work with police departments as well, to recognize the addiction, to get these people into treatment during that time that they're out on bail, and then when they stand in front of a judge, they're standing in front of a judge clean and sober,
and the right treatment facilities,
and the right treatment facility, absolutely
correct.
So. Addiction Training Center, if you want to learn more about Addiction Training Center, maybe become trained to become an interventionist yourself, or simply if you have somebody who is suffering from addiction and you're not sure who to call us, Addiction Training Center, 833-524-1234. That's 833-524, 542. Did I say 524?
You want me to find
I want you to tell me which one it is. 833. Wow, I can't believe I did that.
Well, hold on. I can't. My agents are calling me. They're arresting someone. I can tell right now.
They're arresting somebody right now.
I just got,
as we speak.
Yeah. As soon as we get out, I'm going to have to go deal with this. But
I'll tell you what. Go to addictiontrainingcenter.com.
There you go. My phone's going crazy right now.
And make sure you call and get the help. Get trained if you want to get trained and get involved. And we also want to thank Broadcast Beat Studios right here in Fort Lauderdale. Premier Studios. You wouldn't even believe this place, right?
Yeah, I've been very blessed. I've been in a few studios over my years.
Yeah,
and this is a wonderful facility.
Love it here. So Broadcast Beat Studios. If you'd like to do your own podcast, you'd like to film a commercial, you would like to do some audio video work of any kind, music videos for your band. Check them out, broadcastbeatstudios.com. That's broadcastbeatstudios.com. For now, we're heading into the holidays, my friend. You ready for Christmas? You all set?
Yeah, we've done our things. We've done our thing. We got the bags. Everything's already set up.
You did it all online,
I just
right?
have to make sure. Yeah, as much as I could, as much as we could. But I just have to make sure I'm here because I can tell right now it's already starting.
You don't get a day off, do you? I mean, you can take time off.
But
if you get that call, you have to go do it.
Yeah, I mean, I just got a text message from a detective that we've done some work with some major cases that someone's bonded out someone that we already knew, and we told them we're not going to touch because we know the problems. And I see right now we just got a call about somebody we were looking for that was $15,000 of my family's money. So we would like to bring them back in custody for them to face the charges. So if I don't answer the phone, that's when I get time off.
Let me do it this way. Everyone out there who is run from this man, just turn yourself in today. Just do it. That ought to work, right?
Yeah, so I can have.
Think that'll work?
I can enjoy Christmas. They're gonna make it easy.
I got power, man.
Hey,
it ain't happening. You're gonna have to keep chasing and keep running and keep doing what you got to do. One of the things I want to tell everybody, because we started the show, we were talking about the theft and different things like that. A lot of people buying online and doing things. Really easy for somebody to hijack your information, to use your cards, to use your identity. One of the things I can tell you right now is make sure you go to your bank and you get text alerts on every purchase. That is a great way to protect yourself because if a purchase is made and you catch it right away, the bank will work. I mean, I've had this happen, where all of a sudden I get a text alert that somebody was trying to spend $1,000 of my money in Texas, and I was not in Texas. I immediately called the bank. They stopped the transaction, even though the transaction kind of went through. Mm-hmm. The bank stopped it. I didn't lose out at all because I knew about it immediately.
I get the gas alerts. I get the alerts about gas transactions, and
that's just a great way to protect yourself. You're not going to be able to catch every scheme and every scam and every con because guess what? The minute you catch them at one, they're thinking of another. There's more out there. We probably haven't even.
We haven't touched tip of the iceberg, but
exactly.
I wish they used all that creativity to something positive, But hey,
oh my goodness, have you ever looked at somebody and just said, "Wow,
yeah,
you are so talented"?
I tell them. I tell them all the time. Typically, they're in restraints and in the backseat of my car, But it's an honest, conversation. And like I said, we get some successes now. We've had quite a few successes. We talked about one on the last show. We've gotten plenty. I get some they become friends of ours on Facebook or social media, but others, I don't want to see them again.
Yeah, I totally get it. That is something that There's something that we want to avoid. I get the things going too.
Yeah,
it just happens, you know. So anyway, I want you to make sure you stick around. We'll have another show. We'll see what our schedule is like next week, but we're going to keep putting them out there. And we encourage you, please, share your comments when you see the show. Let us know what you think about it. Share it with your friends.
Yeah, share it.
Share it with your friends. Let's see if we can get things going out there. If you want to contact us directly, do you want to?
Yeah, they can go through. I mean, we've already started sharing the last podcast on a couple of our sites. Tough Love Bail Bonds, TUFFLUV. Bail bonds, yeah, and the name actually came from a federally convicted felon.
Yeah.
He helped us come up with the name years ago. And then there's Night and Day Services, just like the movie, but it's KNIGHT and dayservices.com. So we have it on both.
So Tough Love Bail Bonds. Go on their website. You can leave them any comments, email them. Certainly, Live Out Loud podcast. We're on Facebook. You can message me through the Live Out Loud podcast. You can go to Live Out Loud Network and see the Live Out Loud shows. You can see this show. You can see a whole bunch of the shows that we produce. But for now, we're going to go because I still got some Christmas shopping to do. I'm going to be quite honest.
I said, remember when we were kids, we loved the ice cream truck when we were younger. But when you see that Amazon truck, or you get the alert your package is on the way, or the other services.
I got this thing now. It was like I was out last night and I got this picture that came on my phone, said your package was delivered. So the picture of it sitting on my doorstep.
Yeah,
like,
or you get the ring, or you get the ring alerts when someone's at your doorbell. Makes you happy. But
boy, there's a whole new thing we got to talk about. The people hacking into the ring systems and the home systems and harassing people, talking to people. Scary stuff, brother.
Yeah.
Scary stuff. All right. Anyway, we're going to, we'll be back with you next week. You all have a great, safe week. Take care of yourself. Commit no crime, do no time. That's what I'm going to tell you right now. All right. I'm Scott.
Vernon Jones.
And we are so happy to have you here with us right here, Agents of Recovery.